For all of Jeep's land of the free, wilderness trampling bravado, there's always been one hostile environment it could never conquer, and that is the European car market. Their latest tactic is to dive into the world's fastest growing car sales segment, compact crossovers. They're doing it with this, the new Renegade, and if you come with me, we're going to go and check it out. You've only got to spend 30 seconds on any European road these days to know that compact crossovers or small SUVs are red hot property these days. Nissan Juke, Renault Captur, Mercedes GLA, MINI Countryman. Every manufacturer's either got one of these little SUVs or is scrambling a crack team of designers to draw something that just screams, "Buy me!"
That explains why the Renegade looks divisive. But make all the Postman Pat's van and Nissan Cube jokes you like, plenty of people hate the way the Nissan Juke looks, and that's become their third best-selling car. In the metal, the Renegade can be made to look quite purposeful and cool if you have it in a military spec colour and dark trim. Standard Latitude model is a lot less successful though. I mean, have you ever seen such a gormless face on a car?
While we're on the subject of slightly dubious things, let's have a think about this car's name. Now, Jeep's no stranger to slightly cringeworthy car titles. Yes, I am talking about you, Patriot. But at least with Renegade there is some credibility and some heritage there. It's been appearing on the side of classic Jeep since 1970. Now, you guys doubtless have your opinions about this car's name and stick those in the comments, and we welcome that. But before you dive in, just run this imaginary conversation through your head. Imagine if you've got one of these and someone asks you, "So, what are you driving these days?" And you have to reply and say, a Renegade. I think if I had one of these, then the temptation to rearrange those badges on the side so that it read Grenade might prove a little bit too much.
Jeep promises it designed the Renegade to be true to its off-roading roots and have the best all-terrain ability in its class, not that it has much to beat. Now, like going mountaineering in a Range Rover Sport, that's more of a party piece than how most Renegades are going to be used, but if you insist, here's the spec you need.
So, this is the Trailhawk Renegade. Think of it as a kind of Renegade in hiking boots, and I wanted to show you around it. You've got a slightly new bumper to give you a better approach angle for scrambling up off-road. You've got chunkier tyres and 20mm of extra ride height, so you've got 210mm of ground clearance overall. Jeep says it's the ultimate off-roading crossover, so let's go and find out. Now granted, we're at Jeep's off-road test facility here, Bolocco in northern Italy, so it'd be pretty embarrassing if the Renegade wasn't up to the job here. But it is. This is a really good little off-road car. The steering's not jumping around, fidgeting, trying to break my wrists as I'm coming along this course. The body's nice and stiff, that's not creaking, and crucially, we haven't got stuck. Now that's got a lot to do with Jeep's Select Terrain four-wheel drive system. It's an adaptive system, and using this knob down here, you can select an automatic mode. So you've got normally a front-wheel drive car, which switches to all-wheel drive when it senses slip. But there's also loads of modes for just about any surface you can find yourself on this side of landing on the moon. There's snow, mud, sand, rock setting. I've just got it in auto at the moment and it's pulling us along quite nicely. We've also got, coming in handy right here, a hill descent mode just to smooth out those descents. And there's also a four-wheel drive locked setting for when you're on really, really tricky terrain. Now you might be thinking, who cares about all this? I'm never going to take my Renegade off-road. And that is the underlying thing with this car. You wonder how much Jeep has compromised it on the road by putting so much time, effort and money into making it amazing off-road. Don't worry though if you're thinking, oh God, I bet under the skin it's based on some horrid old Yank tank. This little guy's actually an Italian-American, capiche? Sorry about that. Under the skin, what we've got here is a Fiat. It's based on Fiat's 500X, the new 500 base crossover that will be coming out in a few months, and the Renegade is going to be built in Italy. Now, a taller, boxier, heavier Fiat 500 doesn't really sound like the best basis for a fun to drive road car. So I think it's time we got back on the road and found out what the Renegade's like when it's not scrambling around in the dirt. So now we're out back on the road in the Renegade, and it's a bit of a mixed bag. A lot of the annoyances come from the car's styling. Because it's so tall and boxy, for a start, the visibility is pretty bad. You've got these big, thick pillars. If you think they're bad for blocking visibility, you should see the view out the back, or lack of it. In terms of handling, I'm sort of pleasantly surprised by bits of the car. Usually Fiat's group's gear changes with a manual are pretty ropey at best, but this is actually quite nice and positive. It doesn't roll around too much in the corners, and there's loads of grip. You'd really struggle to get the traction control light flashing, but there's none of the directness of the steering that you get in something like a Skoda Yeti or a Mini Countryman. As I've said, it's quite noisy, which really detracts from the premium appeal that Jeep's trying to give its vehicles, and it just isn't any fun. Another thing that really doesn't help the Renegade about town is the fact that it's got quite a large turning circle, which means that the steering isn't going to jump about when you're off-road, but it doesn't make nipping through city streets any easier. Shall we damn it with some faint praise? Yeah, go on then. Okay, the Renegade is nowhere near as bad as the worst car that I've driven in 2014 and one of its key rivals, the horrid Ford EcoSport. But it isn't as fun to drive as something like a Nissan Juke or a Mini Countryman, and that is smack bang in the middle of where this car is going to be priced to compete when it arrives in the UK in about early 2015.
Inside, Jeep sprinkled a rare thing in car design, a sense of humour. You get a paint splatter instead of a red line, and a reminder of Jeep's birthday. On the downside, there are still too many hard plastics, and the 6.5-inch infotainment screen is borrowed from Alfa Romeo instead of being the more comprehensive new system found in the Jeep Cherokee. The interior sort of sums up the Renegade then. Lots of flair, but some flaws too.
On the plus side, it's got loads of space, loads of kit, it's genuinely good off-road, got lots of character, and it looks really unique. On the downside, I guess those looks for many of you, the interior can be quite ropey in places, and it's still just not as fun to drive on the road as a few of its key rivals. But leaving all that aside, there's no doubt that this thing is the most relevant Jeep to be sold in Europe since the end of the Second World War. And finally, we've got a Jeep that's actually worthy of comparison against European and Japanese rivals. So, welcome to the party, Jeep. What took you guys so long?
Click on the video windows to watch our drives of the Renegade's big brother, the Jeep Cherokee, and the equally crazy looking Lexus NX. Hit the play icon to enjoy our latest video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking the Auto Express logo.